Welcome, friends and foes, survivors and killers, to the next episode of Pixel Predicts, the series where I give my predictions for the next big Dead by Daylight update. Today, I'll be giving my predictions for Project W, the upcoming second Resident Evil chapter. But before I do, I want to look back at the last Pixel Predicts video that I did covering the new mid-chapter update and see how well I did. I'll be giving myself a point for every successful prediction, no points for a miss, and half a point for where I get it kind of right. Maybe I've missed something, but I've got the spirit of it broadly correct. I think self-care is going to get nerfed. I suspect that pain resonance will have the screen, if pain resonance hits a generator that the survivor is working on, removed. So it doesn't force you off a generator, and doesn't block the generator with Dead Man's Switch. Barbecue and Chili and We're Gonna Live Forever will maintain basically the same effectiveness they currently do. Their blood point bonus is likely to be removed, but their blood point bonus will be moved to the base game instead. Another perk that's likely to get nerfed due to incredibly high usage rate is Spine Chill. And I think they're going to change it not by messing with things like the Volt Speed, but by making it not work on undetectable killers. I think Lucky Break is going to get buffed to its PTB value of 2 minutes. So I think we're also going to get a bunch of top-down reworks that totally change what a perk does. I think the likely candidates for this are Tinkerer, Monster Shrine, Knockout, and Soul Survivor. And I think we might be in line to get a boil-over style new perk that will just completely brick how games are going to be played for a couple of weeks before they hotfix it. But the ones I think we should be keeping an eye on are Saboteur, Tenacity, Monster Shrine, and Knockout. For Survivor, I suspect the meta is going to focus more on generators than it did before. Within After Dead Hard, Survivor chase times are going to get a hell of a lot shorter, meaning that efficiency on gens are going to be more important, and one perk notably missing from the list of changes is Prove Thyself. There are 3 notable omissions from the killer perk change list: Deadlock, Dead Man's Switch, and No Way Out. Those perks are inherently mostly okay, maybe aside from Dead Man's Switch and a couple of the killers, but when they're used together, I think we're in for a very noxious meta going forwards of, well, camping a lot. But there is one saving grace I believe we're going to get from this camping meta that I fear we're running headlong into, and that is BT, or some variant upon it, becoming base kit. I think we're going to see kill rates take a big hit. The first thing is the Twins rework / balance update. I don't think it's coming this mid-chapter, I'll be totally honest with you. In terms of what I think is likely to be coming, however, I think we're going to see artist changes. I think the meta changes for perks are going to be relevant. We're going to see big changes to a lot of perks, so we're going to see lots of new perks that we didn't see play before, seeing changes. What I think we're going to have a problem with is killer diversity. Jonah's lore is going to actually be like, okay. You know whose lore I think is going to suck though? I think Blight is going to be just so bad. It puts my final score at 8.5 out of 17, or exactly 50%. Honestly, in hindsight, the issue was that I didn't properly foresee just how big the base game buffs to killer were going to be. I gave myself half point for the problematic perk category because off the record on the PTB was that, and the endurance stacking in general was a massive problem, but they did fix it for live, so I gave myself half a point. But what I absolutely did not predict was the increased gen times and the effect that would have on the rest of the game. That and the buffs to the hit cooldown and pallet break speed have made M1 killers significantly stronger without making the top tiers really any better than they were before, meaning that the gap between the top tier killers and the rest of the killers is actually much narrower than I expected. I was at least right about the camping meta thing though, because the obliteration of Decisive Strike, as well as the increased gen times, have made camping much more attractive for killers. And as for the Blight and Jonah stories, they'll be getting their own videos. Jonah's lore, I was right about it not being offensively bad, but it was really not a good story. Although I kind of enjoyed it anyway. I have a weird collection of thoughts on it, but I'll be going into that much more thoroughly in Jonah's lore video. And Blight, his story's just a banger. Like, his story is actually really, really good, far better than I gave it credit for. So I'm really looking forward to Jonah and Blight getting their videos in the near future, so keep an eye out for those. So without further ado, let's move on to my predictions for Project W. Maybe see if I can get higher than 50% success rate this time. Let's start off with the incredibly obvious. Project W's killer is going to be Albert Wesker. In the RE universe, Project W is the eugenics program developed by Oswald Spencer to create a group of advanced human beings using the progenitor virus. There were only 2 survivors of the program, Albert and Alex Wesker. And between his role as the greater scope antagonist of the early parts of the Resident Evil franchise, and how fondly the fanbase remembers him, Albert Wesker is going to be the killer for the chapter. He's just going to be. My next guess is that he'll be based on his appearance in Resident Evil 5. Resident Evil 5 is the game where Wesker stepped out of the shadows and became the main villain, attaining the heights of his power when he was able to stabilise the T-virus in his own body and dispatch Oswald Spencer, weaponising the Ouroboros project in an attempt to bring about the end of the world. It's Wesker at his most quotable and most memorable to many parts of the fanbase. I personally believe Wesker as a character fundamentally collapses like a house of cards in RE5, which is something that I'm going to cover in my video on him fairly soon, but that trenchcoat and shades combo is such a key part of the character that it's going to come back for sure. As for his power, I suspect that he will have the Tyrant from Resident Evil 1 as an AI friend, kind of like Nemesis' zombies, based on its appearance in the remake of Resident Evil 1. Capcom loves AI in Dead by Daylight. It was at their insistence that the zombies were added to Nemesis' kit. And I'd be astounded if they didn't demand behaviour try something similar to push the envelope for what Wesker is able to do. Zombies are a pretty malign part of Nemi's power though, so I can see behaviour trying to set right what once went wrong and make Wesker's AI element a more interactive part of his kit. A Tyrant Helper as a temporary buff would fit this excellently. Since he has an infection remover somewhere in his kit, I suspect he's going to earn his Tyrant power up through the use of his regular chase power, similar to how Trickster earns main event. DVD Leaks has data mined an infection remover item from Wesker's kit in the game files, so he's going to share a contamination mechanic similar to Nemesis. But they're not going to want to completely copy the character, so I suspect it'll be more similar to main event, where he'll build up his Tyrant friend or some other powerful boost over time, and the infection remover will allow survivors to slow it down, similar to using Plague Fountains. Project W will have Ada Wong as the only survivor, with alternative cosmetics for Rebecca Chambers and Shiva Alomar. Wesker will have RE1 Wesker and Ouroboros Wesker cosmetics as well. I'll be honest, with Claire, Chris, Leon and Jill already in the game, there's not that many iconic RE survivors left to pick from, and Ada Wong is the only one to appear in more than one main series game before RE7's soft reboot of the franchise. Plus, if the chapter's intent is to capitalise on the RE5-6 nostalgia that Wesker embodies, Shiva and Rebecca seem like natural choices to indulge in that nostalgia, while keeping Ada as the only survivor. We're also going to get more cosmetics for the RE Chapter 1 characters. A catsuit for Jill, based on her appearance in Resident Evil 5 where she has white hair. Leather jacket Leon, like we see him in Resident Evil 6. A classic Nemesis cosmetic based on his original look in the original Resident Evil 3. And a legendary skin for Nemesis that will let you play as Mr. X from the Resident Evil 2 remake. These need a lot of explaining. Cosmetics make money, and we've already had Blighted Nemesis, so Capcom's clearly okay with behaviour making skins for RE characters post-release. We've had RE4 Leon and Jill's original RE3 look already, so more original versions of remake characters is far from off the table. I don't think Project W is going to bring a new map with it, but I do think we're going to get the rework to RPD. I believe the RPD rework will divide it into two maps, with the central room present in both versions of the map. So one version will have a central room on the left side, and one map will have a central room on the right side. There aren't really many iconic locations from RE5 that you could adapt for Wesker, at least not on the same level of RE2 makes RPD. And whereas they were able to lift the RPD almost entirely from RE2 make, RE5 is a much older game, meaning behaviours work to adapt would really be cut out for them. Instead, I think we're getting the RPD rework just because it's a very natural place to put it. And here's my long shot guess. If I get this one right, I will give myself double points because it's super unlikely, but I think Wesker will have a William Birkin legendary cosmetic based on his appearance in the Resident Evil 2 remake. Please, give me Birkin. And before I sign off, I want to talk about some other balance stuff. Maybe some things that might get changed between now and the new chapter relating to the mid-chapter balance changes. The first one being, I think Decisive Strike will go back to its 5-second stun duration. Tunneling is way too good now and behaviour knows it. New DS gets you pretty much no distance against a lot of killers, and reverting it to 5 seconds seems ideal to make it a proper punishment for tunneling. I think Thanatophobia is also going to get reverted. The Thana buff seemed out of place, since the gen speed increase makes Thana stronger even without directly buffing the perk. And Thana was already pretty damn good by all accounts. I wouldn't be surprised if they ended up reverting the buff. In addition, I think Dead Hard, Pop Goes the Weasel and Hex Ruin, while all being very not good perks now, will remain bad until at least after the new chapter. Unlike DS, Dead Hard, Pop and Ruin don't really need to be good to make games healthy, even though I'd argue Pop is a healthy perk and it being strong is a good thing. If these perks are almost totally unused, Behaviour will see that as a win. I don't believe there's going to be any buffs intended to help solo queue in time for the RE chapter release. I believe they probably have some in the pipeline, but we'll have to wait until the mid-chapter to get them. This includes the positional indicator stuff they talked about in prior developer updates. I just don't think they'll have time for this. They'll have just done a massive perk update and are gearing up to a new Resident Evil chapter. I'd be amazed if they managed to get anything significant through. But they do know solo queue is a problem right now, and I'm sure it's at least on the agenda for after Project W comes out. So what do you guys think? Do you reckon my predictions are going to be accurate, or do you reckon they're going to be just a fart in the wind? Either way, let me know in the comments. I know I haven't uploaded since the Spirit video, it's been a little while, and this isn't even really a proper upload, but I'm working on something absolutely massive at the moment, and trust me, it'll be worth the wait. My interview with Crypt TV CEO Jack Davis is going up on Thursday. We finally have a date for it, so I cannot wait to show you it. It's a super enlightening interview. And my big documentary on horror NFTs as an industry is coming shortly after. It's what I've been working on for the past almost 2 weeks, and it's nearing completion and I can't wait for you guys to see it. If you want to miss any updates, you can follow me on Twitter, check out my Discord, or hit me up on Twitch where I stream on a semi-regular basis. Links to all of the above are in the description. Down there you can also find a link to my Patreon. Patrons have already seen this video because they get access a day early, and if that's a privilege you want, then by all means, the link is in the description, go check it out. And everything on this channel is also brought to you by Wraith Energy, your one-stop shop for tasty, sugar-free energy drinks that give you the long-lasting energy without the crash. Use the link in the description to pick up your order of Wraith, and don't forget to use code PIXEL20 for 20% off at checkout. Gets you a bargain on your drinks, gets me a bit of support on my channel, so it's a win-win really. Well, that's all I've got to say, and thank you so much for sticking around. I'll see you in the next one.